Yeah, my wife was a dermatologist and she became a consultant at the RVI, the main hospital in Newcastle, and dragged me home. She's from Liverpool, I'm up here. And I came to work with my dad to take over this business as a kind of springboard to what am I going to do with the rest of my life. Yeah. And we've been quite innovative in building a community here and gelling that, and they call it in the property world place making a sense of place, kind of curating the journey and the comms. And that business is, gone from strength to strength. And along the way, I met a guy, Mike O'Brien, who he had twins in the same class as I had twins when they started school in year 5 or whatever it's called. Year 3. And we both realized that we had complementary skills in the same market, which was tech for the finance sector, which is what I've been doing a lot of in London with my marketing agency work. And we decided to set up a business. Hoult Yard had a big spare office that we couldn't rent, but it made the business look great to start with, that we got space to grow into 40 desks. And Mike, got the band back together from a business that he'd been in. And I supported, like I had with Future Heads, on some of the board discipline, commercials, and network of partners for all of that. And the business is now just 10 years old. So Future Heads is maybe 12. Yeah.
So is that Opencast you're talking about there?
Yes.
So would you like to set a scene? Because I know we had a chat a few months ago about what Opencast is, just to kind of tell people in 30, 60 seconds kind of what you guys do. Because I believe you're on a big recruitment drive at the moment as well, just to help sell the dream.
So Opencast is an IT consultancy. We have a number of different techies in this world. Is called. We do a sort of methodological agile. So we're working with Scrum teams. This is all the jargon of like 8-10 people in a team, each with a different role: a Scrum master, user experience, software development, databases, testing. So in the old days, when a government department wanted to build a new piece of software, that they'd get people in, they'd say, oh, it's going to cost you £25 million. We'll deliver it by Christmas. And they go away, do all of the work that they thought was needed, and then bring it back at Christmas. And everyone will go, well, actually, we've moved on and this is completely useless. Whereas if you do it in an agile format, you're doing daily meetings with the team, with the client, and with sprints that are 8, 10, 12 weeks long. And you can check in much more with the jigsaw pieces that are all being built, so that the jigsaw at the end should fit together and should be providing the service that's much more accurately matching where the organization at the same time has been going. Okay. So that was our premise of the business: software teams for hire. And we worked for many years. One of our earliest clients in the Northeast was HMRC, the Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, the UK tax office. And our teams very much peer to some of the teams in the HMRC Digital Delivery Centre in Newcastle. And everyone got on really well. Our teams were really rated for their closure of getting it right and doing it on time, on budget, at pace. So in the pandemic, our teams were called on to work to deliver the HMRC, the furlough schemes, the government's response to getting support for people. And we did a couple or three of the biggest systems: the freelance furlough. We worked on Eat Out to Help Out, and we worked on a number of policy initiatives that the policy team in the Treasury in London were like, if you do this, this, and this in this phase in the pandemic, will this help stimulate the economy? We worked on a number of those which didn't get delivered, but Eat Out to Help Out was one, slightly random in hindsight: get people back into restaurants to have a free meal on HM Treasury to try and stimulate activity, to see if post pandemic, they would be able to build back.
No, I must have just had a comment from
IT company with software guys, a great team.
That's the 5-second version. But honestly,
yeah.
but I love it because you have gone on to do some really, really great things. We got a comment from James who was basically saying that if you're looking for agile or scrum practitioners, armed forces people or ex-forces people are very, very good at that. So thank you, kind of James.
Yes.
But one thing, I'm glad you mentioned it because, again, I think people love to hear from companies that have been involved with stuff that they've probably interacted with. I remember Eat Out to Help Out, and I think it was a funny one because the whole pandemic was a time when nobody really knew what to expect, what was going to happen, how long was it going to last. And actually, I remember the first Eat Out to Help Out meal that we had, and we went to a steakhouse in Newcastle, and I think it was half price. It wasn't completely free, but actually it kind of worked. But what I also love is the fact that, especially someone from the Northeast, when big government contracts come up, the fact that then go to the regions that, we can actually really kind of help build tech hubs and areas of genuine expertise. And if I can use that as a seamless segue onto Dynamo Northeast, would you be happy to just tell us about that? What do those guys do?
Well, so along the way, I set up a networking group for the corporate tech world. This is like also nearly 10 years old, but we were quite early into how important tech business is going to be in the whole economy, but also in every city of 1 million people like Newcastle, because the future is digital transformation. All science, all manufacturing, everything now requires a laptop at the front end to actually drive it. And it was something that I had realized because I had done a bit of marketing of UK tech and digital entrepreneurship with what is now BEIS, the Business Department of Government, doing a regional program. And when I then moved to the Northeast, I was surprised how lively and growing the tech sector was that didn't really get a lot of airtime nationally when I was in London. And we would show people around an office who said, "Oh, we want to expand. Have you got an office for 10 desks?" And then we wouldn't hear from them. And we'd chase them up and go, "Well, actually, we don't need an office for 10 desks. We now need an office for 20 desks." And then we'd chase them up and they'd go, "Actually, we need an office for 30 desks." So I was kind of getting the sense that this was an exciting growth market. And the example in the Northeast of the biggest tech business is Sage Software, which has grown indigenously, by the locals, to being the 5th or 6th largest software company in the world, stock market darling with its growth through the last 20 years of the century, and continuing to grow. But the great thing about those products were that you knew that 70% of your revenues were booked for next year, because once you got your accounting package in, pretty much everyone buys it again next year. And then the rest of the 30% to get you to the same size as you were last year, plus a bit more, was, well, the government's going to change the rules on how you post national insurance contributions, or they're going to change the numbers. So everyone's going to have to buy the add-ons, which is classic software as a service, SaaS businesses. Once they're locked in, there's growth. And I'm like, if I'm going to start, when I first moved to the Northeast, and with the connections and the market that I knew, I looked at the creative industries, at marketing services, PR, and did some great hanging out with some of the people who have done really well in that world in the Northeast. But I felt that they weren't as locked in as the tech stuff. And so when Mike and I started talking, it was like, I definitely want to set up a tech business because there's so much more growth in it. And it's been a positive policy-wise for the regions that most government departments require. There's been, in all my time in business, 30 plus years, whatever, there've been, government must help get small to medium-sized businesses in to deliver services. It's a real problem with the symmetry, megacorp and tiny minnows that don't work that well together, and it's so easy to get mishaps. But the policy that HMRC have used and other government departments are now, there must be a prime contractor, but you must give a certain amount, 10, 15% of your business to SME subcontractors. And Opencast software did really well with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the work around Dynamo. How do we build a network of people who we can foster and support to get the bigger contracts?
Mm-hmm.
And what can we learn from big corporate tech businesses that are, good for the region? Because, I'm from the region, I have property in the region. If the region prospers, that's great for me. I've got 4 sons. Where are they going to end up in the world? It would be nice if more people were here, if there was more values. Hoult's Yard is in NE6, which at the time was the 75th worst postcode in the UK. If you can incrementally gain, and this is been followed up with the talk about leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
If you can bring the bottom percentages up, it's the same in your customer base. If you've got customers that are not profitable, either you get rid of them, which you can't do in a country, but you bring them up to that level. Instead of them being a cost, they're being a value adding to the business. That really supercharges the business. So that's kind of my passion for the region. And then how can I help? Well, I went to a load of sort of navel gazing, how are we going to brand the region things. And I got so kind of pissed off with the talking shop. I was like, I'm going to do something positive.
Yeah.
This region doesn't have a corporate tech network. I can really see how it can gel together. I've done some network stuff, and we started Dynamo, and I got sponsored by Accenture. And I said, well, let's do a conference and let's get Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of the internet, to be our guest speaker. And that was the scale of the ambition. Wow. We're going to get, we might be small, we might be out of the way, but we can still, get some big hitters. We actually couldn't get Tim Berners-Lee, but we got Rory Cellan-Jones, who was the BBC's tech correspondent. And we said, how do you make the Northeast into Silicon Valley? And his reply was, don't even try. Because the Northeast is completely different to Silicon Valley. So what you need is to find the pieces in the local economy that you can support and foster, which is, again, economic theory around clusters. One jewelry shop on its own is quite lonely. 2 jewelry shops fight against each other and go, why are you next door? Because you're killing my competition. A street of jewelry shops becomes a destination for people who want to buy a wedding ring. Yeah. Where do I go? I go to the cluster. And so that's been the theory around tech in the Northeast. If we cluster together, particularly in industry verticals, finance, tax and accounting, medical, manufacturing, then you, instead of being like a small lone competitor against the world, you're working on skills programs, you're working on marketing story, and you're also helping the inward investment story for the region. If I'm coming to the UK and I'm a payments processing business, which city should I go to if I don't want to afford London? Well, Newcastle, because the tax office puts billions through the banking system every day. Sage Software is here. The Prescription Pricing Authority, which is the biggest government department outside London, headquartered in Northeast with 1,200 staff, processes 1 billion prescriptions a year. So there's a chunk of tech. And so that was the pitch for Dynamo. And we've gone on to take that pitch through collaboration, innovation, skills, and noise/advocacy to pitch for government to support the Northeast. And I was on the team that initiated the idea, which became Newcastle University's National Innovation Centre for Data, which is a £30 million investment in a building that's on the Helix site, the Science Central site next to St James's Park and the University and the City Centre. And it's those sort of anchor buildings that start the narrative for growth. Yeah.
I agree. And it's also really, the impact has actually been felt, if that makes sense. When you, so I know where Hoult's Yard is. Near there, you have Wall's End, where you have lots of different ship building. And actually within your kind of lifetime, I don't know when they stopped building ships, but 70s, 80s. And actually the transformation in that short time period to where we are now is incredible.